Hello, welcome to the Joe Podcast.
Joe who?
Joe Mama! I'm your host, James Frank.
I am Josh Guinan.
I'm Meredith Russell.
And I'm Min Nin.
The story revolves around a German soldier named Paul Bäumer, who was positioned on the front line during World War I along with his comrades, most of whom are under the age of 25. The novel is narrated by Paul himself. Throughout the book, Paul goes through the hardships of losing and killing people. He learns that war is pointless and those like him have nothing to come back to after the war ends.
So we believe that the theme of the book is there's always light at the end of the tunnel, which basically means that there's always hope no matter what circumstances the characters are put in. So one of the big examples of this theme being shown was a scene in a hospital after Paul had to be pulled out of the front lines. Page 261. But one day the doors fly open, the flat trolley rolls in, and there on the stretcher, pale, thin, upright, and triumphant, with his shaggy head of curls, sits Peter. Sister Libertine, with her beaming head, pushes him over to his former bed. He is back from the dining room. We have long supposed him dead. He looks around. What do you say now? And Joseph has to admit that this is the first time he's ever known of such a thing. And this is a very helpful moment, or hopeful moment for Paul and everyone else in the room, because as Joseph said, when people go to the dying room, they don't ever come back. And yeah, so it's incredible because it gave the rest of the soldiers hope in leaving this hospital and maybe even the war, which is something they don't see too often.
Another example for the theme is found at the beginning of the book. When Kat, one of their friends, shows up with a good amount of food. On page 39. We are just dozing off when the door opens and Kat appears. I think I must be dreaming. He has 2 loaves of bread under his arm and a blood-stained sandbag full of horse flesh in his hand. The artilleryman's pipe drops from his mouth. He feels the bread. Real bread, by God, and still hot too. As you can tell by the way the artilleryman reacted, this is something to be happy about. This shows hope because even through hardships of war, and the necessity for food is very high, and there isn't much to go around, Kat somehow still finds a way to get food.
Paul's commander warns him and others of a bombardment. This means that Paul has to go to the front lines. Paul says, "There will be a bombardment." Perhaps it is our own and innermost secret life that shivers and falls on guard. When Paul says his own inner secret life shivers and falls on guard, it means that he is scared and anxious about going to the front. At that point, when Paul is scared for his life, all he has is hope that he will make it out of the bombardment alive, despite how terrible the front sounds.
Also showing hope, all of the soldiers hope to survive the war. On page 101, Paul says, "It is just a matter of chance that I am still alive as that I might have been hit. In a bomb-proof dugout, I may be smashed to atoms, and in the open may survive 10 hours bombardment unscathed. No soldier outlives 1,000 chances, but every soldier believes in chance and trusts his luck." They all know how little their chance of survival is compared to their chance of dying, but they carry that belief and hope of survival with them anyway. Even as enemies and comrades are dying around them, they hold on to that hope of living as every new day passes them by.
So one of our questions is, do you think this is a realistic portrayal of war?
I would say so because unlike A Farewell to Arms, it goes into a lot more detail, and it's more realistic and focuses on more on war more than it does like a relationship like A Farewell to Arms.
Yeah, it has more graphic details, like when they were describing the rats in the trenches, or they actually describe some of the deaths. They don't really romanticize any of the parts like other war novels that I've read.
Yeah, and I think that it's pretty realistic on how all the characters ended up dying, because in war there is no really happy ending.
and I feel like Paul is a way more realistic character because of the way he reacts to when he kills people. I feel like since he's, I would say, like, almost newer to the war, he doesn't have that built-up experience to death yet, so when he cries when he's next to the person he just killed, I feel like it's more real than when people just brush it off.
Yeah, it's like more of a real portrayal of war because it shows like the hardship of like taking like a person's life or like
How they kind of start giving up hope as the
Yeah.
war just continues on and on.
it really like changes like a person's like personality in like a bad way.
Another question we had was, do you think that any of the characters developed throughout the course of the story?
I feel that Paul, the main character, really develops more than others because when he has to like, there was this one time when he was throwing a grenade, he saw the enemy and he waited, but right when they moved, he threw the grenade. So it feels like he still has like at the beginning he still had like hesitation, but like near the end he like got more realistic.
There was a point in the story where Paul was fighting somebody hand-to-hand combat, and to the point where he had to kill them. And before this, he thought that killing somebody was just like anything usual because they're just the enemy. But after he killed them, he realized that they're an actual human person, and he felt grief and sadness after he killed them.
And there was another example of this at the camp, like the base camp, when he gave when he gave the Russians cigarettes, even though he didn't have to. He saw that the Russians were just like him and the Germans, and he had empathy for them, which is something that a lot of war novels don't show a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with the cigarettes, he also gave them the potato cakes that his mom gave him.
So the last question we had was, what message is the author trying to convey about war?
So the message I think the author is trying to convey is that he's trying to show war in more of a realistic light than most war novels do. Like we said before, he's not trying to romanticize anything. He just gives us what happened from Paul's point of view, which is pretty trustworthy since he is, what's the word? He empathizes with both sides.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's trying to show how war, like what Josh said, he's not trying to romanticize it. There's like really harsh things in the war, like they don't have enough to eat most of the time, and their friends are constantly dying, and they have to worry about dying constantly in the front.
Yeah,
And they kind of lose themselves during the course of their war. How they kind of just lose everything that made them them, and all they know is the war and everything horrible going on around them. How it kind of destroys the people in the war.
Yeah, I feel like the author's trying to say that like war is like a really bad thing, that can change people's like life and the way they think about like what really is like living.
Yeah, and going off of what Meredith said, there was a section at like near the end of the book where Paul was describing what his like last week on the front was, and basically what he said is that he only knows like dirt, mud, and like the sound of bullets. So it's in that way I feel like it's kind of having a huge mental toll on him because he doesn't really know if he's even human anymore. Like that's what the war's done to him.
Yeah, he doesn't really have anything to return to after it's over. It's really the only thing he's ever known besides class.
Yeah. And also the war has like turned them into animals. I'm pretty sure they said that when they first went to the front.
Yeah.
And going off of what Meredith said again, he doesn't really have a family to return to because as far as we know, his mom is probably dead because she had cancer when he left. So
And he didn't really seem to have a good relationship with his dad either.
Yeah.
He kind of seemed
his
to be
dad
avoiding
only-
him.
His dad only talked about the war while his mom actually cared about his health. But yeah.
Yeah, so like his like the relationship with their family, even his sister, I believe. It was like like when they like came to visit, they had nothing to talk about, and he just like wanted to leave.
Yeah, he hated being on leave because he didn't want to see his dying mother. That's like the only relationship they had. Alright, so my favorite part of the book was when, or all the times Cat got food. I just thought that was really funny because he would like seemingly pull it out of nowhere. Like he would leave his friends for like 10 minutes and come back with food like the middle of the field, which I thought was, I don't know, I thought that was pretty funny. So I think Cat was probably my favorite character.
My favorite part was when Paul and a couple of his friends snuck out and picked up some French girls while they're in France.
So one of my favorite quotes from the book was, "Cat turns his eyes to heavens, lets off a mighty fart, and says immediately, 'Every little being must be heard as well as seen.'" I thought that was pretty funny the way the author like put it when he was farting, and it was just farting.
My favorite part is when they were in like the storage house or warehouse or whatever it was, and they met a cat. I liked that they fed the cat and didn't kill it like they have every other animal that they saw, and I really liked that they took it with them. I think that's super cute.
Alright, guys, this has been our 10 minutes with Joe.
Wait, who's Joe again?
Joe
Mama!
And peace out, guys.